Turtle WoW finally broke their silence, guys, and it's sad. It's sad to see. So here's the thing. When I first reported on Turtle WoW, the video was super controversial. It got downvoted like crazy by the Turtle WoW community. Tons of comments and views on the video, but it was in fact my most disliked video I've ever posted on YouTube. And that's probably because I said Turtle WoW's done, guys. Turtle WoW is done. They're not going to be able to escape this. Blizzard's going to use every tool that they're capable of using to essentially make the running of Turtle WoW nearly impossible. Now, people's arguments in those comments where, well, they're overseas and their servers are in this country and they're not going to be able to get them and good luck and Turtle WoW will live on. And I didn't disagree that it will be hard for Blizzard to attack the main servers in these other countries, but they'll attack every other pathway that those servers use to get here. They'll attack things like URLs, websites, communication pathways via Discord, all this stuff to just make Turtle WoW essentially feel like it's been deleted from the internet. Well, Turtle WoW responded. They responded and begging Blizzard essentially to give them a license to use WoW. Let's see what this letter was all about, how Blizzard will likely react, and I'll give you guys my opinion, legally speaking, as an attorney, I am one, believe it or not, on how this is all going to shape out.
Oh boy, we got news to talk about. Recently, Turtle WoW made a fairly crazy move. In spite of being under insane legal fire, you know, the RICO Act, they basically stuck their head above the trench and they have sent a shot back. With that,
real quick, he just said the RICO Act. I'm just going to quickly pause and say, yeah, the RICO Act is essentially used against, like, it's organized crime. It's an organized crime thing that, you know, it's basically saying that this goes beyond just IP infringement, like they're stealing their IP, or this goes beyond, say, for a giant mob or drug cartel. This goes beyond just selling a bag of weed. This is an organized crime ring. It goes way further than that. This is crime being done at a high-level business level, I should say. And that's what was going on here. Yes, Turtle WoW was making money off of stealing the IP. They basically created a side company or a branch-off company from Blizzard's IP. So, yeah, Blizzard hit the hammer with the RICO Act, and essentially what that'll do is the punishments are going to be way worse now.
Being done, the ball is now in Blizzard's court. Now, of course, they didn't fire a legal shot back. They are still an illegal server, and they actually just publicly admitted to that. But that's because their plan is not to win the legal battle. It is to win the public relations battle. Oh, we are going to get into some spicy quotes in this video, including ones from current Blizzard leadership. Okay,
Ooh.
Turtle posted an open letter, and it sets out their case to become a legal licensed server. In fact, what they're doing is asking Blizzard to consider something way bigger, which is this: an entire framework to legalize private servers.
Yeah.
And they make a surprisingly good case, until you look carefully, that is. But I'll tell you what they also did. They missed...
So I did look at this letter briefly before I ever watched this because I'm just interested in this stuff. And yeah, they make a case, but they try to use examples, and I'll explain why. A lot of these examples don't apply here. In fact, none of them are direct a one-to-one of what Turtle WoW has done with the Blizzard IP. A lot of these, first of all, you got, you know, servers that have gone down, no longer exist. Say something like Toontown, where it no longer exists. If you know what that game is, it's like it's an MMO basically for kids. It doesn't exist anymore, so it's licensed out. Toontown rewritten. People can still play it or do things in it, but it's not being iterated on in any way. It's just another way to play the game that is dead. It's been licensed out, so those servers can continue on. Besides that, a lot of these examples have to do with different versions of the game that aren't made by the retail or not made by the company itself. Just little game modes. Right, so it's different. And again, I'll get into the nuances of why these are all different.
Until you look carefully, that is. But I'll tell you what they also did. They missed a trick, because we found a quote from Holly Longdale in her past job that they could have used as an absolute slam dunk. But it seems they didn't do their research. Okay, first, the letter. Now, there is one other thing, and it's more important if you're, say, a Discord user, because Discord got hacked. That's just one of the many
I didn't know this, that Discord got hacked.
And these security breaches, and even invasive...
Shit, if they leak our Discord, we're going to get arrested.
America, they're too common, and they are why I use today's sponsor, Incogni.
It's all degenerate content.
You see, whenever data leaks, data brokers harvest it, and they sell it on. It's how they earn money. And if you ever wonder how spam callers get your number, it's often that. Now, Incogni solves the problem by automating all the legal work you would otherwise have to do. And if you join at incogni.com/BattleYourWarcraft, you get 60% off an annual plan. And the way it works is crazy because you just enter your info and then it works. That's really it. You see, you've got a legal right to have your data taken down, but that means hours of paperwork and it's not permanent.
True.
Incogni, once it has your data, automatically scans brokers, sends takedown requests, and adds you to suppression lists. It does that automatically, and it will consistently rescan the brokers to ensure your data is kept down. Just take a look at my dashboard. It's pretty cool. 214 takedowns sent, 1 in progress.
Canada police gonna knock on your door? Why would Canadian police show up in Detroit?
Pretty damn good peace of mind. And over at incogni.com/better warcraft, you'll get 60% off an annual plan, so you can also have that peace of mind. And of course, the easiest way is to just click that link down below. The letter opens with them painting themselves as loving fans and artists.
Yeah.
They're pouring their soul into expanding Blizzard's universe.
Sure.
And over 7 years, they say they found out how to add replayability to an MMO world. Now, the first 2 paragraphs are basically an advert for Turtle, but with a very specific point, which is this final line. Mysteries of Azeroth, quote, feels like a home that always welcomes players back. And what they're doing here is planting an idea for later. Then we get to the next part, and that talks about modding, how it is embedded in gaming's culture, you know, harnessing community passion, all of that stuff. And they really go here. They use the real flowery language, talking about devoted fans, enriching games with diverse perspectives and innovative ideas. And they argue that Blizzard should embrace fan content as a testament to WoW's legacy, instead of alienating them. Now, you'll notice that thus far in the letter,
By the way, considering Turtle WoW a mod is, I think, kind of it's a ridiculous take. Turtle WoW is not a mod. It's a complete remake and stealing up the game. If you're modding a game, it's a modification, right? You're taking a part of the game and maybe you're adding a little tweak to it or something. But they're not doing that. They've taken the IP completely from Blizzard and they've added on top of it to a point where it's become its own entity, its own game, and they're making money off of it at the same time. Modding for the sake of modding, like making a character look like SpongeBob SquarePants, is not a way that you're going to make money off the game, and you're not iterating on the game in a competitive sense. When you're taking the entire game and adding on top of it, and then competing directly with the original owner of the IP, that's not modding. That's stealing, right? And it's anti-competitive. If anyone could do that, then everyone would just go around stealing corporations or stealing individuals' intellectual property, modifying it, and then saying, "Oh, all I'm doing is modding it. Oh, by the way, my shit's better than yours that you originally made, and now I'm going to compete directly against you."
Instead of alienating them.
Now,
you'll notice that thus far in the letter, they're being very nice to Blizzard, very much saying, "Oh, guys, your world, oh, it's the best."
Right, Clarmidia.
So, yeah, now that the glazing is done, they're switching gear. So it's time for the actual asks, or, you know, maybe what we would call a shit sandwich. Okay,
right.
Quote, "Unfortunately, unlike other studios," is how they begin their next paragraph. They go on to talk about how Blizzard doesn't let these beautiful fan-made testaments to WoW operate without, quote, legal conflict. So they're asking for a licensing framework, and they basically say that all players would be deeply grateful if Blizzard would let Turtle and other servers do their thing legally. Going further, though, by doing that, they say it will let Blizzard control the IP. Right? Because if there's this licensing framework, then it does get to be on terms that Blizzard would agree to. So basically, they want Blizzard to get their control, but still allow fans to innovate and have things be above board. And they say this would, quote, enhance the gameplay experience and strengthen the bonds between developers and players. So, all nice, cordial stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, this whole WoW as a home idea comes back at the end of their letter.
That's WoW as a home thing. Yeah. Why would they license it? Why would you license something directly to what would be considered to be your direct competition, especially because it's very obvious that Blizzard's working on a Classic Plus at this point, right? So you want Blizzard to feed its competition via a license? How is that supposed to work? In what world does that make any sense? And again, they try to sell it as a mod. No, it's not a mod. You're directly competing a competitive product that you're going to try to profit off of. That's not a mod. Again, you're stealing their IP. It makes absolutely no sense. There'd be no reason why Blizzard would allow something like this to happen.
As per Turtle's argument, with something like this happening, WoW would remain a true home for everyone who loves it. Now, the genius of this letter's positioning,
they're appealing to the people,
is that it's hard to argue with, like, many of their points, at least in first glance. Like, Turtle is clearly a really good version of Classic Plus. Like, actually good. This is not me randomly glazing. It's pretty well developed. They've done some smart stuff. Because look,
Yeah, they have.
if it wasn't good, it would not be as popular as it is. It essentially ticks all the boxes. It honors classics art style, writing, game design. It's updated regularly. The community is mostly clean of the usual bullshit. You know, like botting as an example. People continually say to me they do a good job of taking down bots. And it's also supported by real GMs, something that, real World of Warcraft
that's a good
isn't
one.
so much these days. Now, there are just a few issues, though, when we kind of go into the details. Like the small fact that Turtle have continuously poked the bear, right? Like they've actually been overtly aggro to Blizzard's social media. They have been acting too big for their boots.
Yeah, no shit. What is this? I'm sorry, but Turtle WoW deserved to be shut down. Look at their tweets. Yeah, I can't see some of these, but yeah, they definitely have been poking the bear. Basically saying that, yeah, we exist overseas and there's nothing you can do about it. And turns out there was something Blizzard could do about it. It's called making life extremely difficult for a person who's trying to get a product to the, domestic states and stuff like that, or in Europe. Those are places Blizzard can take action and will take action, which means, yeah, great, your server's going to be up and running. It's just not going to get to anybody.
They've been running paid advertisements. The whole
paid
donation
ads
store thing.
Ridiculous.
So for them to do all of that and now be sort of licking Blizzard's boots again does make it look like an attempt to get goodwill and to get their way, which I mean it quite obviously is. And as nice as their embellished vision of a cooperative future sounds, there's a lot of these things called facts that really haven't changed. They are still an illegal server hiding from US jurisdiction, and the owners have been accused of all sorts of things, from tax evasion to gold selling to hijacking other private servers to ram cash shops into them. And this basically reads like them trying to cut a deal, but doing so while having no real ground to stand.
Cut a deal after they've been caught, mind you. Like, they didn't try to start this the right way from the beginning. It's almost like you have a second home somewhere, right? And imagine somebody just walks into that second home and they're like, damn, this is really nice. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start dumping some money in this thing and remodel it, make it extra nice. And so you walk into that home like, a year later, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? Who the hell remodeled my house? And the guy walks up to you after you try to kick him out. You tell him to get the hell out of here. And he goes, wait, please. Can you let me rent this home from you, or maybe just sell the home to me? Let me live here, because I remodeled it and people really like the remodels I did. Is that all right? I know I did this all legally, but look at everything I've done. Isn't it great? People love it. Can I keep it? No, you can't fucking keep it. What are you talking about? You just literally stole this shit from somebody else, and now you want to make it yours because you illegally put shit into it, built upon it. You decided to make money off of it. Like, this guy starts renting out your home as an Airbnb because he modified it. Get the heck out of here. In no world does that make any sense.
Stand on, other than, of course, you and your ability to be displeased at Blizzard. But let's continue with their letter first, because they make some compelling comparisons. Their major argument is Precedent, and they point to 8 other examples of studios that have found success
these are not good
with
examples,
community
though.
servers or modding. So let's go through those. There's Daybreak, who currently own EverQuest. They struck a deal with Project 1999, an emulated EverQuest server that plays exactly as it did in 1999. Then there's Rockstar. Not always...
By the way, again, not making money off of this thing. That EverQuest 1999 server just exists and it's not changed. They are literally just running an old version of the game. They have not modified it in any way or changed it in any way or added onto it in any way. It's just a snapshot in time of that EverQuest server. Very different.
The nicest bunch to modders, but they acquired 5M. And that was a fairly brilliantly engineered platform for basically custom multiplayer GTA 5 servers. And with Rockstar acquiring them, now it's official. And it's gigantic. Truly gigantic. Next, they look...
Again, yeah, custom GTA servers, not the same either as taking the entire game, iterating on it, and selling it as a competing product.
At NCSoft, they eventually granted a license to Homecoming. Now, Homecoming is a secret server for City of Heroes that started after the real game was shut down. Now,
yes,
those are the most...
again, not competing. You're not competing directly with the people you just licensed to because you're no longer running the game. So why not make some money off of it? This is like a thing that happens in the real world with corporations all the time. There's plenty of companies that'll shut down or head into bankruptcy. You know, you remember BlackBerry? They're one of them. And what they'll do is they'll sell off their IP or license out their intellectual property as they're heading into the ground, right? Because they're not going to do it anymore. So they're not going to be competing with anyone. So as they're drowning, they'll start selling off things that they had made. It makes sense completely. Hey, like, you want to keep this up and running? Go ahead, man. Give me some money. You can go run this thing because I'm not going to compete directly with you. In fact, I'm not going to make any money off of it ever again if I die. So why not let it run off into the sunset? Give me some money and I'll let you do that. So again, not a good example of what they're trying to do here, which is directly create a competing product.
Comparable examples, but they do bring up other things. As an example, Bethesda's support for Skyrim modding, Valve's open sourcing the Source engine, which led to Counter-Strike and Team Fortress, both of which, by the way, started as community mods.
Sure.
Then they point towards Epic Games, who of course added in creative mode for Fortnite, and they released old Unreal Tournament source code.
Right, but the creative code, but people make shit, but it all belongs to Fortnite still. First off, it all belongs to Fortnite, and again, it's not competing directly with their own game. Like, people are still playing Fortnite and playing these modded versions of it, and it's all under the umbrella of Fortnite. No competing product.
There's Microsoft's handling of Minecraft with servers like, say, Hypixel and Mineplex.
Tundra, thank you for the Prime, man. 34 months.
Stuff. And then finally, there is
3
EA.
years.
Yes, the lovely folks at Electronic Arts, who actually did cooperate with Kyber. And Kyber, by the way, is a project that completely revitalized Battlefront 2 servers. So, these are 8 solid examples of, as they put it, publishers working alongside fan-ran ecosystems.
Yeah, not exactly.
It all sounds great in paper, but, well, we cover gaming news over on our other channel, and that means we're fairly familiar with these examples. And, well, none of them are quite what Turtle claimed.
What about Dota 2? Valve got sued by Blizzard and lost. They lost because they were not running Dota off of Blizzard's IP. Right? Like, nobody is gonna... Turtle WoW cannot be sued if they go create their own MMO. That is inspired by Classic, and, you know, looks a little bit like it, maybe, plays a little bit like it, sure, but they built it as a new game from the ground up. Nobody is going to be able to sue Turtle WoW if they did that, but that's not what they did. Now, if Dota 2 was still just a mod of World of Warcraft where you're using heroes like Thrall and Jaina and all these other pieces of IP that belong to Blizzard, and you're still using the base game of Blizzard, just adding a little change to it, then Dota wouldn't have survived that lawsuit. But Dota, the people who made Dota 2 and Dota 1, they ran off and made their own game from the ground up. You can get inspired by somebody else's home, going back to the house example, rebuild their home next to them, and make some modifications to it, and you're fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But going into their home, camping in it, modifying it, and then saying, hey, can I have your home now? Or can you at least, like, license this home out to me? Let me lease it for a little bit? No, you can't do that. It's a very different thing.
They are. Who needs details anyway? So let's get rid of the ones that just aren't similar at all. Kyber is a custom server platform for Battlefront 2. Their lead developer was hired by EA as a security consultant, and this happened after finding and disclosing a major vulnerability in their account system. Of course, being part of Kyber almost certainly helped, but EA have actually never said anything publicly about Kyber. I mean...
Yeah, squatting laws is... Yes, I know about squatting laws and all that bullshit in California. I get it. But there is no squatting law on intellectual property.
Using Kyber does require owning the game, so there's no potential loss to Electronic Arts. There is only gain. Same obviously goes with Skyrim mods and everything else for Bethesda.
And by the way, I said there is no squatting law on intellectual property. There kind of is a little bit in that if you don't enforce your IP... If you don't make people stop using it, or at least police it a little bit, then you can lose your right to police that IP. So there is somewhat of a squatting law. Like, if Blizzard just let Turtle WoW run infinitely forever, and then other private servers showed up, and Blizzard just never enforces their IP anywhere, yeah, you could lose your right to enforce that IP for sure.
I mean, there's no.
So they do have to protect their shit.
To let those things exist, and the majority of mods are unpaid. It's basically just Bethesda getting to sell their games.
I know,
for
just a bit cheeky.
Off the back of, you know, loads of mods. It's pretty great for them. Now, obviously, attempts to monetize those mods have, well, often went a little bit funky. Then there's the Valve thing they bring up, which is rather cute, because it's about an engine being open-sourced and fan projects being unlifted.
Yes.
Well, the problem with Turtle is intellectual property infringement.
Exactly.
WoW-like games with a different IP are never truly in the conversation here. It's a bit weird. Then the Fortnite example is, I mean, all in the official Fortnite client.
Exactly. That's what there's no direct competition via this. This is all under the Fortnite umbrella, as I said before. Like, you go into Fortnite, you still buy your season passes and all this shit, and all the purchases and everything are still going directly to Fortnite, you know, but there's this extra game mode that was created by players. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's fine. But they're not competing directly with the game. They're not selling their own currency that's going directly to these people who made this mode.
An engagement-based portion of what Epic Games themselves earn, which basically is their entire user-generated content platform, which is a major pillar of their business. Then there's Unreal Tournament 99 source code. Well, yeah, that's source code from an unmaintained and dead game. Irrelevant. Minecraft servers are actually similar, though, and that's where things will get interesting. However, they are based on ownership of the game, and, well, the thing that makes the servers different in many ways are the mods. And because Minecraft has never had official servers to begin with, well, Mojang don't really have anything to lose. I suppose this is me talking mostly about people.
No competition. There's no directly competing product here, but Minecraft is letting them make something that they don't make. They don't plan to make it. Blizzard wants to make a Classic Plus. They're going to make a Classic Plus. They're already making it. So yeah, now they're going to make it and have to worry about directly competing with their own product against somebody else who stole it. That the person who stole it wants a license.
PC, there's obviously the
Makes
likes
no
of Minecraft
sense.
Realms and other platforms, but you get the point. Now that leaves 3. Let's start with GTA 5 and 5M. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's an unbelievably long story, but using it as a positive example is really not as smart as they think it is. So basically, the original developer found incredible success quickly, and then they hired other people. And this is where they went wrong, because one of the new hires eventually went behind everyone's backs to sell the whole project to Rockstar. And
Damn.
you know, it's Rockstar. They will absolutely play ball with something like that. And the more you learn about this story, the worse it gets, because by doing that, they also doxed all of their contractors, which was, you know, a fairly lovely thing to do.
Shit.
And they handed over all of their financial
Sneaky little
records, which obviously caused chaos. This resulted in the project owner being bullied into agreeing, and then they basically all just felt really shortchanged. And then infighting actually got that lead developer fired. So, chaos. And after all that chaos, the project is now ran by Rockstar, and it's rapidly degraded without the passion of its old lead. They had something beloved, right? But the process of selling out basically destroyed it in short order.
Right.
So, yeah, sounds good, and I guess no real fault of Rockstar's either. You know, tensions are rising, and bad apples basically spoiling the bunch for a payout. Next then, NCSoft, City of Heroes. This one was awesome.
No longer
and
exists.
unprecedented. Homecoming was a secretive private server for the game that started in 2019, and that, of course, was replacing the
You can't compete with a product that no longer exists. City of Heroes don't exist anymore. So they just let them they licensed it out to them so they can continue to run this private server, this version of City of Heroes that just will exist because it's being run on the servers. Again, no real iterations and no competition.
official game, which died in 2012. Now, in January 24, Homecoming's owners revealed something huge, that they had a non-commercial license with NCSoft to run it officially. Again, non-commercial. Now, NCSoft have zero current interest in City of Heroes. They don't give a shit. They're never really going to use it, or at least they can't see themselves using it. So sure, they're happy to let it run, but they still hold the IP, and Homecoming is free.
Yes, they're not making money. They're not directly competing in any sort of business sense. This is just a frozen version of the game that's running on a server.
Supported by donations, like with Turtle. Just actual donations. They don't have the whole cash shop thing.
Yeah.
Because very often in private servers...
Turtle calling the money that they get for their product donations is disingenuous, because they're literally selling products on a store for it.
Donation is, yes, to keep the
There's a real
server
transaction going on there.
But it's also, you know, the cash shop. And, well, allegedly, people get very, very, very rich off it indeed. Though there is another similarity between them and Turtle, and it is that they also develop new content for their game. There's a key difference. It's completely volunteer. You see, as a part of their deal, developers and staff don't receive any compensation.
Oh, okay, so they do. I didn't know this. I didn't know this, actually, that they do iterate on the City of Heroes game. Okay, so they do modify it, but there's no money involved. Okay.
no in-game compensation or otherwise, no money changes hands. So those donations are to meet the server costs, and if people were skimming a bunch of money off that, well, that would be in violation of the agreement. Now, on the other hand,
Siege
Turtle
of
operates
Madrigal?
like a standard business.
Never heard of it.
Just an illegal one. All of their staff are paid, and at least as far as we understand, paid rather handsomely. So the City of Heroes thing is similar on face value, but in reality, it is
That's different, yeah.
very different in ways that completely change how Blizzard would act, which obviously wouldn't be like NCSoft, because Blizzard actually uses WoW. Okay, next. It's time for the spice. I know, I've teased you twice about a statement from Holly Longdale. So, let's get to it. EverQuest's Project 1999. If Turtle wanted to make an impression, they really should have led with this statement. Now, you'll know Holly Longdale as the executive producer and vice president of World of Warcraft.
Right.
Before that, she was an executive producer at Daybreak, and she was responsible for EverQuest. Now, in an interview with PC Gamer around EverQuest's 20th birthday, they brought up EverQuest progression servers, which are basically the same thing as WoW Classic. And they point out that Project 1999 is a different version, like literally exactly the game as it appeared in that
Frozen
year.
in time.
Now,
yeah.
This was part of her answer. I'm just going to start, just a big old quote. Here it is. The Project 1999 guys are not malicious or trying to steal our money, so we just have an agreement in place that they don't launch stuff around the same time we do. Wow. A statement like that from Holly. Come on, Turtle. You could have used that to get people on your side. They could loudly say, look, Holly permitted this, but she didn't permit Turtle. She is a hypocrite. Except for
but the thing is, they didn't have plans to release a 1999 version of the game. Blizzard clearly wants to make a Classic Plus. That's very obvious. So it's different. They're not, again, EverQuest was not funding, essentially, or, helping their competition.
one little tiny small detail. And you probably
And were
know
they
what I'm
making
about to
money
say.
off of that? I don't
Well,
think
the
so.
detail is that Project 1999 is non-profit.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't making money off of it. So again, it's not direct business competition. They're not taking money from potential customers using EverQuest's own product to do so.
And in their legal agreement with Daybreak, they're not allowed to make any money. I can't find any reference to volunteering, but a few years back they were accepting specific hardware donations, and in a post about that, a project manager said the donations cover, quote, most costs. That might cover development costs, but I think it's safe to say they're not raking it in. So, none of these are actually applicable to what Turtle is. Turtle WoW is a for-profit World of Warcraft competitor.
Directly competing.
And of course, with an official Classic Plus very obviously in the works, there is little to zero chance that Blizzard would even respond to all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, even without getting into the shady stuff behind the curtain, which there's a lot of talk going on about that. Well, basically, Turtle are a direct competitor, and they do solicit cash shop donations.
What's up,
And this
Rose?
means we can put everything together, because what Turtle are obviously trying to do here is drum up support, but they want to do that by painting a totally false picture.
Yeah,
because
it's
all of those
disingenuous.
examples are surface-level similarities at best that are materially different.
And there's a common theme through all of them. One, they're not a directly competing product that's for profit. That's the second part. That's the difference. Customers only have so much money to go around. There's only so many dollars in your pocket. If you have a competing product that's taking money from those customers, then that's money that you can get. Oh, and by the way, they're using your own product to take that money. That's the thing that's very different between all these examples and what Turtle WoW is doing. And that's why Blizzard would never license this shit to them. No chance. Why would they fund their own competition? So that competition can then take the money from the potential customers that Blizzard should have. No chance. No way.
And none of those licenses that those other developers and companies have anything to do with people making money.
Yeah,
and
that's the
profit
big
and
one.
paid developers, right? And certainly they're not running advertising campaigns against each other. And ultimately what they do is paint a totally false picture of this type of licensing
you, Mikey.
agreement being normal and to everyone's benefit. It is not normal, and you can see through those examples how it is rather specific. So essentially, it's not nearly as simple as Turtle makes it out to be in their letter, and Blizzard, by agreeing to this, would have a massive amount to lose. And all they would really have to gain is some goodwill. And let's be serious.
Yeah.
Even if Blizzard did, Microsoft would, not give a toss about goodwill. So,
what'd they pay again? $64 billion or something for a Blizzard Activision? And they're going to license out one of the biggest products of that entire sale to some random ass fucking group of people that want to make a competing product to then take more money away from the product that you paid $64 billion for. Get the heck out of here. Who the heck would do that? Nobody.
What's going to happen? Here's the frustrating reality. If Blizzard said yes, it would almost definitely be under similar circumstances to the other examples that I've listed here. Now, that would mean the Turtle WoW would not be Turtle WoW.
They can't make money.
There is zero chance that Blizzard would allow this to exist and be a free-to-play thing that people could easily go and do. Because then that would be a direct...
Wouldn't Blizzard get money from the licensing, though? Not as much as they would get from making the product themselves. The whole thing about a license is it has to be a profitable endeavor for the person that you're getting into the license with, too. Turtle WoW is not going to pay more than they would ever make off of Turtle WoW for a license to make Turtle WoW. That's a negative-sum game. They can't play that game. So at the end of the day, the license has to be at a number to where Turtle WoW can make more money than the license costs them. Well, at that point, Blizzard's also not making as much money as they could make off of Classic Plus. So it doesn't make any sense. Again, it comes back to it's a profitability thing that Turtle WoW's trying to pull that none of these other examples are trying to pull. They're making money off of Blizzard's content. And the license numbers would have to make sense for them to continue to make money off of Blizzard's content. And if they're making money because the license numbers line up for that, then Blizzard's losing money. Does that make sense? That's why you can't. That's why you wouldn't be able to do this.
It's competitor with World of Warcraft. That would be free. So what would have to happen?
If you no longer make the product and you're licensing it out, then you're making money that you wouldn't have otherwise made. It's very different.
Is that private servers would need to turn into public servers, and they would need to exist under a World of Warcraft sub. And I don't need to tell you how much damage that would do to all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, if developers got paid at all, it would have to be an absolute pittance from Blizzard's perspective. Even if Blizzard miraculously did allow arguably non-competing servers to run for free, like say Ascension, they wouldn't just let the devs rake in loads of money. Just like NCSoft and Daybreak, it would all have to be on a volunteer basis. A corporation like Microsoft could never agree to anything else, so you would be fully limited to developers who work on passion alone. Obviously, passion cannot pay your rent, and that would drastically limit the pool of people who would be working on these games. And even if all of that stuff somehow worked, Blizzard would then have to support some type of server browser, and they'd then have to become legally responsible for what servers actually host, and that would include things like old, insecure clients. Basically, once this is real, every line of legal overhead is relevant. Every penny, needs to be counted. And, well, think about support. I mean, if these are things you can access under a World of Warcraft subscription, then there would be implications on Blizzard
Oh God, what a headache that would be too.
So basically,
I mean, if you license a product out to somebody, the part of the license is you ensuring that that product is available for them, right? Because they're paying for it to be available to them. So that's another round of shit on top of shit, the reasons why they wouldn't do this.
Running a private server would become a whole load more difficult. So in every way, even if Blizzard said yes, I think it would make no one happy. But that doesn't mean that we're left with nothing, because we are actually left with something. Right, this sounds a bit defeatist, but it's kind of true. And that is that the current situation is probably the healthiest for private servers, let's be real. I mean, they are emulators that Blizzard cannot legally take down, right? That emulation side is actually pretty good. Everyone knows where to find the old clients, so developers who want to run fan-made projects can just go and do that. Because right now, you can just run these things in secret and experiment with whatever type of gameplay that you want. Turtle are only bringing this up because they bit Blizzard's hand, and they got caught.
Yeah,
they obviously
made a for-profit organization off their IP.
I think they also obviously want to keep on bringing in, donations. Their whole donation store that's funding a big paid development team.
Donation store,
and
yeah.
I think they're hoping that this letter makes them look like the good guys, and, well, makes Blizzard look like the villains. I mean, come on, who would ignore an olive branch that is full of so much glazing? Now, I think this is a bit of a mistake, because even if Turtle is a great server, and by all accounts it is, I think it's overstepping by trying to be legit here. Because being legit is more likely to kill it than if they just, stay hidden in Russian servers and duck the lawsuit, which they can just keep on doing.
They could keep on doing it, but it's not going to be as what it is now. They're going to lose money, and they're going to lose a lot of their current fan base because it's just going to become very hard to access. That you're going to have to like fucking enter the dark web to get to this thing. It's just never going to be what it was. Again, it'll stay alive, but good luck finding it. Good luck talking about it. Good luck using any sort of credible platforms to interact with people about it. It's just not going to work. So, I mean, yeah, bit the hand. They were taunting Blizzard on Twitter. I know. That's another thing that's very revealing about this, as because they showed their true colors before. They were being very aggressive when they thought they were immortal, right? When they thought they couldn't be touched and they were untouchable. Well, now all of a sudden they changed their tune. What does that mean? Why would you change your tune? You realize you're not untouchable. You realize this isn't going to go the way you thought it was going to go. And now your back's against the wall, and now you want to play fair, right? Somebody kicked down the door of their home that you remodeled, and you realize you're about to get kicked the fuck out. And you're like, oh, wait, actually, can we do this like the legal way? No, you can't. Get the fuck out of my house.
Right? So I would not hold my breath for an official response from Blizzard here, because there's no real answer that isn't playing directly into Turtle's hands, which, let's be real, is probably how Turtle architected all of this. So Blizzard will sit quietly, and they will use the legal system to do whatever it can to hunt this stuff down. So ultimately, my view is that this is a PR stunt that is basically designed to get more people into Turtle and, probably to draw out more donations. I think that's probably what it is. Yeah, there you go. And if you want to know why they are sort of hunting them down in the first place, if you want to know how the RICO sort of legislation is involved, basically the mafia busting legislation, well,
yeah, that's what it is.
It's a crazy story. It's deep, it's dark, it's fun, and you can watch our video on it right over here.
You get my Prime for now? Thanks, Meld. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, crazy story, and again, it's not going to work out in Turtle WoW's favor at all. Once they found out how much a lawyer cost, they backed away. I actually don't think they ever had intentions of fighting it in the legal forums. I don't think they ever had an intention of hiring a lawyer to fight this, because it's a cut and dry case that they stole the intellectual property. They did. It's very obvious that's what happened. I mean, any freaking, even if you're blind, I mean, just the sound that they're using, you could hear the fact that they stole the IP. They're using everything from Blizzard, and they just built on the foundation that Blizzard created themselves through all the hard work and R&D that went into creating the original version of World of Warcraft. So there's no way to fight against that. That's why they go on this route where they're like, actually, can we do this like the right way now? No, we can't, because you've created a competing product. You're making money off that competing product, and we want to make the same thing. They want to make Classic Plus. If Blizzard never had intentions, you think you do, but you don't, like that whole line and everything, maybe you could consider a license. If Blizzard was going under, if World of Warcraft was no longer going to exist, sure, license it out, because you're not going to make any money off of it anymore. You might as well license that shit. That's the City of Heroes example and stuff. This is different. World of Warcraft is very much alive, despite what every fucking YouTube degenerate says about this game is dead. It's not. It's not dead. And not only that, Blizzard literally wants to make the thing that Turtle WoW has already made. They want to make a Classic Plus. Funding your competition would be the dumbest thing you could ever do. So they're not going to do it. This isn't going to work. And Turtle WoW essentially is admitting defeat by sending out this letter and saying, well, we're kind of fucked. We're not going to be able to continue on down this route. Yeah, you probably are fucked. But hey, Classic Plus is around the corner, so if anyone can find a positive in these tea leaves here, it said, I really think Classic Plus is getting announced at the next BlizzCon. So there you go. Classic Plusers, rejoice. The legit version will be here eventually. Kind of how you use the Talador theme every week. Blizzard does all the work, and you just add hair loss to the end of it. Yeah, well, you know what, Blizzard doesn't have to allow. It's funny that you say that. Blizzard doesn't have to, like right now, what am I doing? I'm playing copywritten music. I mean, this Lich King music in the background right now, it belongs to Blizzard. Well, what Blizzard allows to happen is I'm not directly competing with Blizzard. In fact, I'm almost advertising for Blizzard. It's free advertising for Blizzard. Blizzard does not plan on creating a streaming division where they have their own streamers and they make money off those streamers by streaming WoW music and playing the game, right?
We have a realm.
Adonalus, thank you. Adonalius, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. There's no plans for Blizzard to do that. So what Blizzard considers this is Sam's out there making money, and yes, he's playing our game, he's playing our music, he's doing things with he's playing out Talador at the end of his videos, but in essence what he's doing is he's competing a non-competitive product that'll actually bring people into our product. So they allow it to happen. If tomorrow Blizzard wanted to, they could take down all my shit. They could copyright strike everything I've ever put up, all 2,000 plus videos on my YouTube channel, if they wanted to. But the thing is, they're not going to, because I'm not competing with them, and in fact, I'm probably helping them by putting their game out there on more eyeballs so people can come sub to their game and play their game. There you go.